again. It's Brian Wallace over at CLA, and we've got a wonderful laundry leadership conversation teed up for you today. This is part of our series of reaching out to the thought leaders in our industry and having a conversation about what's happening now, what we might be seeing around the corner. And to get us kicked off, we've got an excellent guest, that being Joel Jorgensen from Girbau, North America. And Joel, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Brian. I appreciate being here and always representing the industry.
Yeah, well, it's our pleasure. And Joel, for the folks at home, you'll probably get the feel of it, but you and I have known each other conservatively 25 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. So we often have this type of conversation out on the road at a show or maybe over a cold beverage. So I'm hoping that letting people sort of listen in on your thoughts on the industry will be informative and in a way to get people dialed in with what you're thinking. So, but for their benefit, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and your background in the industry, and then we'll jump into some questions and answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you reference 25 years, it's probably been, plus a few more than that.
Yeah.
And really, it was my entry to the business was in 1993, and joined the commercial and industrial laundry business with another manufacturer. Was actually from the region of where I live now, and that is Wisconsin. And so that was coming home for me, and I had been away for give or take 9 years. Was starting a young family, so it was great to get back and around family. That introduction to the commercial and industrial laundry business was really the great unknown. So it was 31 years ago. And again, when you and I really crossed paths, it was when I joined Girbau North America. At the time, it was Continental Girbau Incorporated. And that was my new entry into the vended laundry segment. And again, just never been around that part of the business, had really come from an on-premise or commercial laundry background, and did some government contract work before that. So yeah, I mean, it was a bright new future. You and I have enjoyed many great times in the industry and watching this industry expand and evolve over those years.
Well, no question about that. And, let's not forget, you're too modest to say, but many years in a volunteer role, supporting the association, up to and including serving as our chair of the board. So not just doing a lot for the industry, but giving back a whole lot along the way. And that one of my nicknames for you is the professor. So we'll tap into that here and there. When you mentioned your background on the OPL side, I've often used you as a unpaid technical advisor as questions come our way. But in terms of what's going on in the industry, we always have these little signposts that come up, and I guess the most recent major disruption was the pandemic, and we're used to calling our industry on the vended side recession-proof or recession-resistant. Then along comes this pandemic, and through some heavy lifting, we were able to stay designated an essential service. And many of our members certainly don't want to go through that again, but seem to have come out on the other side, no worse for the wear. And this last 2 years in particular just seem to be plowing ahead. So what are some of your thoughts sort of coming out of the pandemic, and how the vended laundry industry has been able to stay on point and continue to grow?
Yeah, I mean, you reference it was uncharted territory for the world. I mean, not just our industry. 2020 kind of had us surprised. We in the industry were coming off a very strong year in 2019, and we were enthusiastic about what was to come in the new decade. And so that uncharted territory of the pandemic and what it did to society in general, we're a service industry. And so that essential business service and all the work that you and CLA had done getting that designation was really key. We didn't know how it was going to be key, and open to the public came, I think, in a lot of different ways to different regions. And it maybe meant limited capacity per square foot in some areas. Others just would not allow the public into a closed space, that whole solid surface and cross-contamination. And all the clues and mysteries about how this mystery virus was being transferred and transmitted, really had us looking at our business leaders, the operators out there on the street, discovering how to keep those doors open. So even though you provided the path and CLA to that designation, it was really the operators that taught us how they were able to do business in those different regions. And well, pickup and delivery, for example, was not new. Curbside certainly was for many stores that were maybe self-service, businesses. And so they had to learn to adapt into that more service-oriented segment of business. I think it propelled our business in many ways, where a store owner maybe wasn't even considering that level or leveled service in the past. They were forced into it to keep the doors open, the cash flowing. So in a way, there's certainly a positive light that came out of that. And that was really the advancement I saw too of the POS systems that for years have been borrowed from dry cleaning that now were specifically designed for our segment of business.
Yeah, I like that. It seems to me that if I think back to the Great Recession or the pandemic, or certainly disruptions that happened prior to that, it seems to have a way of accelerating existing trends. Like things that are already happening just sort of hit the gas. And you're right to point out the incredible resilience and adaptability of our members in the face of these situations where there's really no playbook. And I just think that the fact that we continue to take good care of customers, is a way to, push through a challenge like that. And so I guess my next question is, next big signpost, and we can, point to lots of them, is the Clean Show, right? We will have been 3 years between Clean Shows again, 2022, and then coming up in August of 2025, 9 or 10 months away from when we're having this conversation. And so I'd be interested to hear, looking forward, what are some of the things you think are driving the business as we get to that really important milestone, having that Clean Show?
Yeah, and they are monumental, right? You say signposts. I mean, every manufacturer, certainly a lot of the distributors. I mean, this is a big event for our industry, and it brings together. And you and I have spent many hours talking about who is the audience at the Clean Show. And it's a lot of existing operators. It's new prospects looking at vended laundry as a investment opportunity. There are a lot of textile care professionals. We've known them historically as dry cleaners. And then the other part of that audience typically is industrial laundries.
Right.
And we've talked a lot about the blurring of the lines, right? And so many of these different segments have evolved either through market consolidation or the traditional dry cleaning business really going away with our casual wear today. So we're all adapting, right? From those end user operators to the manufacturers, we're advancing the way those lines are blurred and the markets we serve or those customers we serve. And I look at vended laundry as a great example. Whether you look back at 2020 or just the evolution that had started before that, it was really expanded services, right? And the quick evolution that the operators saw as a market opportunity to maximize the market demographic, revenue and the square footage that they had designated. And then really how the one-dimensional self-service business, a laundromat, for example, really expanded into diverse textile care and garment care services. And at the same time, we saw the dry cleaners and textile care doing the same thing. And then a lot of unsolicited business, that was knocking on the door because they couldn't find service. Maybe that traditional industrial laundry was gobbled up by a larger regional, and that's been going on for over 20 years. And all of a sudden, the laundromat was that viable opportunity for that smaller hotel or, this growing short-term rental business. As it expanded, they're looking at laundromats for that service. So,
I could see the Clean Show being sort of a punctuation, right, of this trend of, as you said, blurred lines. Maybe another way to put that is opportunities. And, going way back, the Clean Show, comprised of these 5 associations and their stakeholders, was at one point kind of viewed as unusual because there's a big tent. Are these industries really related? And I think we show up in August of 2025, and it'll probably be as much crossover, whether it be through the education, exhibits, the conversations are all, going to start to, I think, align more than ever.
Absolutely. Yep. And I mean, your Wash Dry Fold conference just a few weeks ago was a great example of that audience that we're going to see at Clean, coming up next year. And I mean, a diverse audience, really exciting at the way they envision their markets and their opportunities. And again, that was a great glance at what we're going to see in the conversations we'll have at Clean Show next year in Orlando.
Yeah, and I just participated in the DLI Expo West a week or so ago, and again, it was just a lot of these same conversations. And I'm giving a talk at 8 o'clock in the morning in Las Vegas, and it's room full of dry cleaners wanting to hear about wash, dry, fold, and delivery. So, yeah, it's some exciting stuff coming up. And as we're both on the road quite a lot, and I'm giving talks all the time, I tend to kind of fall into kind of a headwinds and tailwinds, set of conversations. Like, what are the things that are challenges for us as an industry right now? Then what are some of the things that are going to be propelling us forward? So I think I'd love to get your thoughts. Always very thoughtful about some of the things that we're up against as an industry. So maybe we'll start with some headwinds. We'll get some of the challenges and obstacles talked about first, and then we can talk some more about what are some of the tailwinds behind us that are going to carry us forward. So when you think about headwinds, as much as you can, maybe from the perspective of that, typical self-service laundry, maybe a self-service laundry that has a wash, dry, fold business happening. What are some of the headwinds that jump out to you?
Yeah, I mean, headwinds, challenges, it's ongoing. It's sales tax, it's regional impact fees, restrictions like natural gas availability, or the war on fossil fuels, not my term, but the media's, and then really permitting, just those challenges that take what should be a simple project and extend that time period to really get it from ground up into doors open to the public. So, this ongoing threat of microfiber filtration. I mean, you're on the front lines with CLA. We as a manufacturer try and get involved with your calls. But if anybody stands and questions to me the value of a very strong industry association, look no further than some of those that I just brought up. I mean, that list is a list of your ongoing battles, our ongoing battles that you fight and fund daily, and you ward off those threats to our industry. So those are the headwinds as I see them.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, but of course, this is all those are cases where there's strength in numbers. You all are providing technical support, financial support, as are our owner operators. So, to tackle some of these sort of external threats, I think it's really important that obviously that we're working together in order to do that. One of the things I wanted to kind of reach back to what you just said, because I'm hearing this more and more over the last year or so. Maybe we call it in a bucket red tape, but just this now extended time period from getting a store project, whether it's a retool or a new store going in, that, back in the day, Joel, what was it, like a 90-day project or maybe a 120-day project? And now I'm talking to people that are saying, no, I'm banking on a year or in excess of a year. And it seems like a lot of it isn't so much supply line issues we had a few years ago. It's more just this permitting and getting things running and the utility company. What are you hearing back from your customers at GNA about just the timeframes for trying to get these projects built, even with the support of an experienced operator and an experienced distributor?
Yeah, and really that's the uncontrollable, right? That you just mentioned. It doesn't really matter of the permit class of the facility or the area you're in. It may be properly classified, but you're still going to run across challenges, right? With communities, municipalities, utilities, and so forth. And, those are some of the unforeseen uncontrollables that, we'll go into projects again as a supplier in our position as supplier, and we'll get the feedback because, our expectation is having the product available for that job when they call upon delivery. And there are so many unforeseen, even in the areas that you expected to go smoothly, unforeseen challenges. There was one after the 22 Clean Show, and it was a call I was enthusiastically involved in. Went down to that market, met with the distributor and his customer, and it was a done deal. And he has been dealing with community red tape, even though it was a facility he already owned, just getting that laundromat approved. And it was, again, it's market perception of what our business is and the crowd it brings and invites, the operating hours, and that shouldn't happen.
Right.
But it does because of, negative perception.
Yeah, the outside static
Right.
that we see along the way. On a better note, some of the tailwinds that we see behind us. What are a couple of things that pop to your mind when you think about? I'm sure in your own business, trying to forecast, like where are things going for the laundromat segment, things that are pushing us in the right direction to overcome some of the other challenges like that localized red tape.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to correct you because it's all of our habit, but let's get away from that laundromat reference because that's the perception that many times is our obstacle, right?
Mm.
And that's a negative image that's been embedded in so many minds, negative perceptions and experiences. When we talked at Wash Dry Fold, is it a laundry services enterprise? Are we a laundry center today? You think about the leveled services. We're building anything but laundromats anymore. And that's some of my optimism. I'm excited about the expanded awareness and demographics that we're appealing to, not just that quote unquote, laundromat customer. So we're looking well beyond what we did 10 and 15 years ago with demographic and market opportunities that we're appealing to with our leveled services. I'll reference that a few times. I never want to get away from the self-service customer and that community we serve. But in the same token, with our capacity, and we talk many times about percent utilization, we're a 3-day business or a 2.5-day business. There's a lot of capacity and square footage that can be served to different demographics through different leveled services through our textile care, garment care enterprise that we're building today.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Old dogs, like me, yeah, laundromat, but you're right. Sometimes that does have that hangover negative connotation, particularly with the external stakeholders. Like I think that you're referencing landlords, local municipalities, utility companies that we rely on to provide us the service. So I think that goes in the right direction. So you kind of touched on it, but the number one thing, pardon me, that I touch on with the tailwinds conversation is this demographics and demand.
Right.
And so you kind of starting with the more people, the more dirty clothes, and then you get into what's happening positively for us in the renter occupied households. And then, I think what you're also talking about is the expansion to non-traditional laundromat customers that would be garment care customers or textile care customers. So what are your thoughts about this demographics and leading to demand as I've defined it? Where there's just more clothes out there for us to do, particularly as we expand our services.
Yeah, there are. I mean, we've always really put forward as a value proposition that we're an efficient means to do a mundane process, and that's your laundry. That's a weekly task, right? And save time and sell time and convenience back to the consumer. And so we're just taking that model that we built our industry on and expanding it into different demographics. And I think it's really, Brian, all about awareness. And there's such a small percentage of Joe and Jane public that even know what services exist inside the confines of that quote unquote laundromat, which is why I'd love to get away from that term. So and expanding that knowledge and the awareness of services and how we do now appeal to them is really our goal as an industry. It takes me back to the eggs have a bad rap, and
right.
Improving that image Weird analogy, but and they did that campaign as an industry, and I think we need to kind of follow suit in changing perceptions and understanding about the services we provide. I have many friends who know what industry I'm in. They don't understand all the dynamics of it, but
Sure.
many of them have no clue that those type of services exist. And I am confident that the sky is the limit with the opportunities for our business to improve that perception and expand the knowledge of the services we provide.
Well, I'm with you on that, Joel. I mean, I've been closing a lot of my chats of late that do touch on the trends in wash, dry, fold, and full service laundry, with the notion of every day, as we're sitting here today, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are going to send out their laundry for the very first time. And I think that perspective really should get people excited about where we're going, because all these various services, and we know all the different names and the dry cleaners that are out there doing it, the vended laundry folks that are out there pushing it. It's all conspiring, I think, to raise this awareness. And I'm sure you've done the math. For every 1% of households that decide to send out their laundry, even occasionally, you're talking about billions of dollars in sales that get created. So, I think as we lead up to the next show, 8 or 9, 10 months away now, I just think that there's going to be that many more consumers that are realizing that this is an opportunity for them to, avail themselves of the time savings and convenience that we're selling. So it's exciting stuff. And I think that kind of leads us into the next topic we had sketched out here, which is talking about the marketing strategies. And, what are, and again, in your observations and, through your client group, what are some of the interesting things or exciting things that you're seeing people take on from a marketing perspective to promote that, hey, we've got all these services available, not just a self-service business that meets an essential need and affords time savings and convenience, but some of these other services that we've been talking about. So what's cool and exciting in marketing from where you sit?
Yeah, I mean, you brought some of that in your example there, but some of the marketing goes really back to the foundational community involvement and outreach. Whether you're doing a private event or following the playbook provided by CLA and and laundry cares. I mean, that community outreach, the days of laundromats being a passive business with auto locks and unlocks, and the attendant shows up 1 or 2 times a day, it's a viable business. We employ full and part-time employees. We have expanded business hours. So part of the marketing that you reference is really just being out and visible in the market. Okay. That changes perception right there, and getting people that otherwise maybe wouldn't visit your enterprise through the doors and realizing some of those services is very, very important. So I mean, you look at the dynamics of outreach, maybe it's lockers, maybe it's a route pickup and delivery. You've got branded vans on the street talking about services. At every stoplight, you're stuck with the message sitting in front of you. So those are some of the little incremental increases of public awareness that come by way of marketing and just our involvement and visibility in the community. Then there's obviously open houses, training. Again, the commercial work goes beyond that's coming through our doors. Goes beyond that traditional laundromat owner and customer. And so we're getting the word out with expanded services just through our own solicitation of some of this commercial work as well. So again, that's not traditional marketing. I mean, I think it's been the same since the 1950s. Word of mouth is still the most powerful marketing that exists in society today. And that's a big part of what we never did in the past, because we had successful businesses by doing no marketing at all.
Well, right. I mean, you and I have been around long enough to remember, we're giving presentations on why you should market or advertise as opposed to not doing it.
Oh my goodness.
Best practices or most effective techniques, but just whether you should bother with it at all. So we've certainly cross that that barrier, and all the digital tools now
Absolutely.
are so incredible. And it always reminds me of some of the consumer research we've done that I at one point kind of filtered into a motto. If you really listen to the end customer feedback for self-service laundry, it's laundromat customers want time savings and convenience and a clean, safe environment that's close to home.
That's it.
I mean,
That's
so we can make it more complicated if we want, but that's pretty much where it stands. I mean, and we've been talking a lot from the perspective of the owner operator in this conversation thus far, but I don't want to miss on the opportunity to to give our viewers and listeners a little bit more insight into the role of the manufacturer and what are some of the things that you all look at in terms of trying to make sure that you've got the right products to bring to market. And as always, we're brand agnostic, but at the same time, from your perspective as an equipment manufacturer, you can't just decide tomorrow, hey, we need this new product, we need this new washer, we need this new dryer. I mean, it's got to be many years, I would think, in advance of trying to get something to market. I know that the Clean Show provides one of those milestones for product releases. So, what insight might you be able to share with us about how you look at the market demand and try to cast that out in the future, and then make sure that you've got the right products in the pipeline?
Yeah, important question, right? I mean, one side of my responsibility is obviously being out in market, listening to customer needs, their innovations. I mean, that's where the answer to what you're proposing here is, how do we drive R&D and all the development and the dollars and the resources that go into that? It's really listening to the market. The best ideas aren't conceived here. They're conceived out with the operators in the market, telling us what their customers need, what they need to be better and more efficient at what they do. So we've got the advantage, and you bring this up, Girbau North America, we're part of a global network. And my day isn't, focused on just the vended or self-service laundry industry. So I'm lucky it gets me out of bed in the morning, because I'm talking to industrial laundries, I'm talking to textile care professionals, multi-housing customers with apartment buildings and dormitories, and certainly vended laundries. And those blurring of the lines, you're talking about R&D, we're seeing a lot of demand. And I pulled you aside and said, I'm blown away at the diversity of the advancement and the newcomers as that audience at Wash Dry Fold, and at more and more of these events that you host or distributors host, or the upcoming Clean Show. And that is the laundromat operator that's looking for an ironer, right? It's not brand new, but the laundromat operator looking for garment automation, folding automation. Wash Dry Fold, our friends at Curbside had a working video of a robot learning the process of learning how to fold t-shirts and pants. And I mean, recent national news was the robotics industry. Everybody brought up laundry. So I mean, that R&D is one shared between market segments as the lines blur, and new products and development. I mean, the market told us they wanted automatic delivery of cleaning products at the point of sale. The market told us they wanted large capacity machines, and we were one of the first manufacturers that brought 90 and 130 pound capacity to vended laundries, because the customers in the market told us they wanted it, right? And they could sell it. So those are the technologies that we're driving, again, from market feedback. And, it's clear to me that it's time for us to step up now with the control processes, right? The machine that was designated vended and had its limitations and what truly it could process. Today, that same machine can convert through a hybrid function from a vended laundry machine into a commercial or professional cycle. And it could take on challenging stains like food and beverage and healthcare and other things that couldn't be tackled by a vended laundry cycle.
That's that versatility, really, that so many of our members are needing these days, beyond just that traditional self-service work that they had been doing. And so I think that's definitely one of the themes of the conversation, right? Is the the blurring of the lines, the industry coming together under more of a garment and textile care definition, allowing for multiple models, right? And
Yep.
maybe it's not that it's right or wrong. It's just, how complex do you want your business to be? We still have plenty of members that just want a straightforward self-service business, but many more. And these are the folks that you were referencing a moment ago that are seeing really an unlimited potential to do commercial accounts and to handle pickup and delivery and do these other aspects. So yeah, I think it's going to impact everything that you talked about, including store design going forward and being able to accommodate the space for storage and for flatwork ironers and other things that are going to be into their stores. So I think that's definitely something that we're going to be looking for. And I agree. We've got a show coming up in Germany here in a few weeks that's going to have a bunch of new cool stuff. And by the time we get to Vegas next year, there's going to be that much more new to see out on the show floor from you and from everybody else. I guess we've talked about this a little bit already, but just I think it's worth revisiting just for a moment is sort of if we're to achieve our goals as an industry, we talked about connotation of the word laundromat, but pushing forward with the positive public perception of what we do, that we are garment care professionals, that it's not the dirty, dingy, rundown laundromat that's a detriment to the shopping center or detriment to the community, rather something that could have a positive impact through just the basic execution of a great laundromat to adding things like Laundry Cares Foundation and other things that we're doing. So it probably goes without saying, but I'll ask it anyway. Where will this public perception weigh in on how far we can go as an industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of headwinds, as you said, but there's also a lot of tailwinds, right? A lot of the operators have been historically moving towards more of a leveled service, my reference, enterprise, getting away from the traditional self-service passive business, but that model works too, okay? And I'm not trying to put cast a shadow over the foundation that built our segment. In fact, I'm just saying that there are headwinds, including rent, construction costs, many other costs that we may historically you may have been able to build out with utilities and equipment and infrastructure a laundromat for under $500,000 15 years ago. Today, those numbers are significantly larger. So with that headwind challenge, the operators are looking for more ways, more revenue sources and streams. And again, utilizing what was a successful business with 26% utilization, and then capturing the opportunity for more market and revenue. And so, I mean, others are renting out their space by night and, to operators that are pursuing something that maybe they don't want to do. And we heard about that again, Wash Dry Fold. So, it's all things for all people. The opportunities are there to expand. And the key has been really facilitating the ability of this dynamic growth through payment and POS systems. And now, again, I'm one of them, and my company is, we're finally catching up to the advancement and the demand of this market through these diversified and flexible machines that can be all in one. And again, the stores are being designed today with commercial plans, textile care plans, restoration work for flood and fire, already built and designed in to the layout of that store. So we're not piecemealing it in and pulling out bulkheads and replacing them with ironing systems or going off premise to a separate space. We've built a 5-step process to this 15 years ago. And we have a lot of operating plants today that are standalone commercial plants that were built out of the front or back door of laundromats. And so with that, there's also challenges in our 5-step map or plan because it requires labor, it requires space. And so again, we look at the industry and the creativity of the operators out there. They're finding ways past and around and ways to thrive. That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that always provides a lot of juice for me too,
Yeah.
is really the entrepreneurial spirit of your customers, our members that are pushing us, that are adapting, that are coming up with new ideas, that see the upside in doing all the things that we're talking about. I don't suspect that will go away. And I guess one of the wrinkles that I've seen with that here of late is beyond all of that is more entrepreneurs wanting to have some type of community engagement, corporate social responsibility, wherever you want to call it, as part of what they're doing. So they may be looking at different industries to get into, different opportunities, but they know that something needs to connect back to the community. And I think we've got a great, program for them to do that, because we've got this audience that is under resourced in a lot of cases and could use that helps. So that's part of the creativity too, is the new entrepreneurs saying, well, no, maybe there's a better way that we can not only make a dollar, but take care of our community. So I think that goes a long way. As we're getting toward the end of the trail of this conversation, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the topic of consolidation. We've been in this industry a long time, and it really hasn't seen a lot of consolidation, whether that be at the store level or manufacturing level or distribution for that matter over the years. But all of a sudden, it feels to me that we're seeing a lot more consolidation in the market, and a lot of interest from outside investors that have never been part of our industry before, but see some of the things that you and I are seeing and want to get into the business and have some piece of the action. So I know it's kind of a wide open question for you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this consolidation coming about in different segments within our industry, and then where that might lead us from here.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a diverse question, and one we deal with every day, right? So distribution, our path to market is through a servicing professional commercial laundry distributor. And these are back of house. I mean, self-service laundry is front of house because it's open to the public, but a lot of the public doesn't understand that there is an industry that specializes in commercial and industrial laundry. And they've been independent distributors, some multi-generational. I mean, it's part of what's kept me really engaged in this industry for so many years, is that family element. And it's consolidating, right? For years, it's been a challenge for exit strategy for distributors to find value in selling their enterprise should the next generation not be interested, but there has been consolidation. It's probably 7 to 8 years underway. Same token, we've had different dashes of trying to consolidate laundromats over the years. And there's brands out there, Spin Cycle, Laundromax, and they come from the car industry or other large big box store industries, and thinking they're going to consolidate this family business. And so I'll take on the first one, or I'll take on them both with an answer. And the benefit of what these challenges is going to be consistency of services, right? So you look no further than other service industries like ServiceMaster, Mary Maids, Jiffy Lube, and there is a expected level of service with any of those and many more that I didn't mention, right? So there's leveled service expectations, and love them or hate them. They are what they are, and they're a proven model, okay? So that's a positive, and that is bringing more, I guess, confidence to the service expectation from the distributors, for example. Okay. I'll transition now to the franchise focus that we've all seen emerge. Again, I think the legitimacy and the work that CLA did to keep our doors open during the pandemic brought a lot of legitimacy to our industry. And while they looked past us for other, more popular brands of franchises in the past, the new investor is seeing the viability of our industry, and they're throwing their money at it. So those models started growing and existing. And same token, now I'll transition to Lowe's, Olive Garden, Domino's Pizza, and a plethora of others, right? So here again, the franchise model does have legs just because of consistency of service. And
Mhm.
Mentioned it a few times before. One of the limitations that held back the consolidation of the stores and the operators in the past was really cash and collection, right?
Mm.
And who do you have on site at 20 or 30 different sites handling and managing that? So the franchise model, the payment systems, the POS systems, there are some positive things to that franchise focus here lately as well. Otherwise, I wouldn't be pursuing our industry.
No, it's a really an exciting time, and you're getting the inquiries, I'm getting the inquiries from, private equity, from, like you said, people that have been successful in other fields in
Yep.
franchising, people that are just like wholesale distribution. And so, oh, there's wholesale distribution in the laundry industry. And so, we'll see where it all, shakes out in the end. But I think one thing you could definitely take away from it is they see opportunity.
Yep.
And so that, I think, kind of jives with what we're seeing. And they're just now coming around to understanding some of the elements of this business that we've enjoyed for so long, and they're interested in playing a role. And I also think that the potential first-time laundromat owner is a more diverse group than we've seen before. A lot of them are just franchise folks. They like to do franchises. They've done the haircut place, they've done a fast food restaurant place, they've done this or that, and now they want to do the laundry business. So, but I think one thing we can agree on is that we've seen more change in this last couple of years than maybe any other time in my, whatever it is for me, 32 years. So,
Mhm.
that just, like I said, that's the kind of thing that keeps us excited and paying attention to what's going on in the business. So, um, with that, I wanted to thank you, Joel, for being part of this laundry leadership conversation. A lot of great insights as always. I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Thank you very much, Brian, and for your leadership, CLA, and the industry. Sky's the limit. Really excited for our future.
Good stuff, Joel. Thank you.
All right. Have a great day, Brian. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.